Good morning, students. Welcome once again to Pedagogical Content Knowledge in Biology. In this lesson, we are going to learn something on instructional teaching. Now, this is session 5 of Unit 5. So, these are our objectives for the session. So, objective 1, by the end of the session, you'll be able to define the term technique. And then you'll be able to discuss the instructional techniques used in teaching biology, and also find what preparation you do as a teacher for teaching. So these are the objectives you will be achieving for the lesson. So when we say a technique, what is a technique? Now, technique is a supporting device which a teacher uses to emphasize his or her ideas through communication and manipulation of other resources. So as a teacher, what is your technique? What technique do you use in teaching? What technique do you use in supporting your teaching or in supporting students' learning? What technique do you use to ensure that students get what you are teaching? So you have to ask yourself these questions. And I've given you the definition of a technique. So you identify the technique you used in your teaching. Now, instructional technique. Instructional technique, before the biology teacher go into the classroom to teach, he or she must make sure that the following instructional techniques are adhered to. So whilst you are going to teach, you have to follow these instructional technique. 1. Master your subject or topic. You have to master the subject you are going to teach. You have to know what you are going to teach, so that students does not identify some lapses in your teaching. They wouldn't identify that this teacher is not well trained for the course or the subject. So you have to really know what you are going to talk about. 2. Motivate students by injecting humor. Yeah, that is very important. You have to motivate your students whilst you are teaching. 3. If you make a simple mistake, simply acknowledge it. When you are teaching, some people intentionally make mistakes in order for students to laugh or for students to draw the teacher's attention. And then the teacher will know that indeed students are paying attention, but then you have to acknowledge that to your students. Either than that, the students might think you, the teacher, you are making errors in your teaching. 4. I'm saying that ensure that all instructional materials are made available. When you are going to the classroom, ensure that you have a duster, you have a chalk, and other instructional materials you are going to use in your teaching. It shouldn't be that you miss one of your instructional materials. It will delay the period. 5. I'm saying that the chalkboard or whiteboard or green board must be used properly. Avoid talking to the board. Now, some of you are fond of doing that. When you are teaching in class, as soon as you write the board, you don't talk. You only talk when you are facing your students. Currently, what I'm doing, I'm speaking to you students. So I'm facing the slides, I'm facing my laptop. So whilst I press the next slides, I'm facing you students. Now, the next point is use half of the chalkboard at a time. Now, some of you are fond of writing from one side to the other side without dividing the board into two. You should organize the board in such a way that you can organize it, and then where you write some examples, where the notes will be, where the exercise would be. You have to organize your blackboard before you start to teach. And the next point, I'm saying that if the board is very long, concentrate at the middle portion that divides the board into two equal halves. Yes, some students will sit at the right hand side, others will sit at the left hand side of the class, as others will sit in the middle. So in order not for those sitting at the right hand side should be at the disadvantage point of the blackboard, you should write in the middle of the blackboard for the students to see. When you write in the middle Every student in the class is going to see what you've written. The next point, I'm saying that use duster to clean the board and not your hands. Some teachers are fond of that. Sometimes unaware they will spell something on the board and then maybe they made a mistake in the spelling. Instead of them to use a duster, then they will use their hand to clean. When you do that, the students will identify that no. Why is it that there is a duster in the class, but the teacher is not using it to clean the board or to clean the missing word in the word? So you are supposed to always use your left hand to hold the duster. If you are a righty, you use your left hand to hold the duster and the marker on your right. If you are a lefty, you do that. But when you do that, you don't make errors. You don't make minor mistakes. So anytime there is an error, you feel that okay, the duster is in my left hand, so I have to wipe that. Generally, survey the whole class and don't talk to one particular person or a section of the class. Some teachers face one section of the class while they are teaching. What about the other section of the class? You are teaching the whole class, but then not a section of the class. So whilst you are teaching, you have to ensure that each and everyone in the class, you observe them whilst you are teaching. You don't observe one portion of the class and then you leave the others. And then I'm saying that biology teachers must make a conscious effort to avoid gender bias and should avoid favoritism. In your teaching or whilst you are teaching in a class, you shouldn't pay attention to males alone, pay attention to females alone, or favor some ethnic group of students and then you leave that. There shouldn't be no bias. You shouldn't be biased in terms of ethnic group, in terms of religion, in terms of gender, in terms of the child's background. Some teachers are fond of doing that. It is not nice. You feel that this caliber of students, their family are rich and then therefore you pay much attention to their studies. It is not good. When you do that, you are being a mediocre. So I advise you that you being student teachers, when you go to the field, anytime you are teaching, you have to pay attention to the whole class. And then you do away with biasness. And then the next one is questions must be distributed uniformly and fairly. At this point, I'm trying to say that when you ask a question, you don't ask a portion of the class. You ask the entire class the question. Or you don't point a hand to a student to ask a question. The others will feel that they are not part of the class. But meanwhile, you are teaching the whole class. So you have to uniformly ask a question. You throw the question to the class for them to respond. Okay, so we've ended our lesson for today and we have to review what we've learned so far. So I want one of you guys, or let's say I want all of you, not one of you, all of you to review the session by discussing what we've learned. Okay, so I throw these questions to you guys. Question 1, what is meant by instructional technique? When we say instructional technique, what do we mean by that? Question 2, list 4 instructional techniques carried out in the biology class. Question 3, explain 2 instructional techniques as applied in biology teaching. So explain 2 instructional techniques. So you guys should discuss these questions, okay, and then you discuss on any available e-learning platform. I believe this one is going to help you guys.